University Council of Jamaica would be able to help in this regard.
Think about these things, focus, get to know yourself, get to understand your skills, get to know your deficiencies, get to know your positives. And it is through these things that you will begin now to master yourself so that you can master whatever discipline that you choose to do.
The Ministry of Education and Youth is responsible for the placement of students who sit the Primary Exit Profile PEP exam, which assesses students' knowledge as well as critical thinking and communication. Students are placed based on the results of the Primary Exit Profile PEP tests given in grades 4, 5, and 6. The parents' or guardians' top choices from a list of potential schools. While the Ministry of Education and Youth does not generally assist with student transfers from one school to another, requests will be supported in circumstances of proximity. This is when a child may have been assigned to a school where he or she would have to travel considerably long distances from home to school. However, in cases where you are seeking transfers for children who have already been placed in schools by the Primary Exit Profile PEP placement process, it is your responsibility as a parent to contact a school that is willing to accept your child or children. Here are the steps to allow for a smooth transfer process. Submit a letter of request for transfer to the school desired. The school should then provide you, the parent or guardian, with an acceptance letter. Take that acceptance letter to the school where the child was originally placed. The school administrator must then provide a release letter. You are then required to write a letter addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Youth, requesting approval for transfer. This letter must be accompanied by the acceptance and release letters and should be taken to the respective regional office. The Ministry of Education and Youth, through the regional offices, will send approval letters to the accepting and releasing schools within 1 week from the date received. Make sure you have the necessary paperwork from the primary school to speed up the procedure. And that will be the child's last 2 reports, grades 5 and 6. A recommendation from the principal, the official scoring sheet from the Ministry of Education and Youth with the child's grades for PEP. Other documents such as the child's birth certificate and immunization record should also be made available. And keep in mind that it is your duty to get in touch with a school that will accept your child. Follow the transfer procedure to help your child enroll in the institution you believe will give him or her the best chance for a successful academic career.
Path beneficiaries, as we prepare to head back to school, I know that many of our families are concerned about covering the educational expenses for the new school year. I want to assure you that your government and the Ministry of Labour and Social Security are aware of the issues, and we have made provisions to assist you with back-to-school expenses. Families will receive between $3,800 and $5,600 for each child registered in a government educational institution between grades 1 to 13. Along with this regular benefit payment, you will receive an additional $3,500 for each child registered in a government school to assist you with back-to-school expenses.
Remember, if your child is starting a new school, you must visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's office in your parish to notify us and ensure your benefits are not disrupted. We also have 2 additional benefits that the ministry provides which can assist your children's education after completing secondary school. Part students who are pursuing a bachelor's degree can receive tertiary bursaries of $100,000 per year for up to 4 years of study, providing that they maintain a grade point average of at least 2.5 and meet all the other requirements stipulated by the institution.
I invite you to visit the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's website at mlss.gov.jm for more information on how your family can access benefits under PATH, the Program of Advancement Through Health and Education. You may also call us at 876-922-8007 or visit any of our parish offices. Our team will be more than happy to assist you. We are here to help you.
When thinking about who you are as a young person and thinking about what you want to become, fundamentally we have to begin to think about the degrees that we need to have and also the life that we want to have in our journey.
As a child, one can seem certain about the profession he or she wants to lead. A doctor, a lawyer, a police officer, maybe even a firefighter. The possibilities seem endless. But then comes adulthood and the moment where you need to make a definitive decision. A lot is riding on that decision. Money you may or may not have, time you'll never be able to recover, and of course, a parent or guardian you may not want to disappoint. You may find yourself steering into the future where anything is possible, and yet the choice of what career you want to go into is difficult. Here are some things to do to help you make the best choice when choosing your degree program and ultimately the career you will lead. First, you may want to consider your interest. What excites you is what will automatically draw you in.
Fundamentally, do not do a degree because your friend likes that degree. I know a lot of people who pursue degrees, pursue tertiary level education, doing something that they don't like, but because their friend is doing it. That's a no-no. The fundamental thing about doing a degree and doing a good degree is something that you do well, easily, without having to struggle.
Then you want to do some research on that role. Research will turn up added information for you to know if this path is right for you. Research can be done in varying ways, but first, get to know yourself.
There are a number of career assessments online that when you do them, they give you an instant report. I recommend to persons who are contemplating career choices to do a minimum of 3 career-related assessments. When you do 3, you give yourself an opportunity to see a pattern in terms of what the reports, how the reports discuss the way you answer your questions. And then once you see the pattern, it's easier for you to narrow down to 3 possible choices that match your interests and your aptitude. And then you can do a deeper exploration of those 3 career choices to include online research, informational interviews with professionals who are in the field, people who are 5 years into the field, 10 years in the field, and beyond 10 years. And that will give you a good set of data to clarify whether this career most likely will suit you.
Now that we have a better understanding of who we are and the job that mostly aligns with our behaviors, let's get some information on those jobs.
One of the things that I ask persons, who is sitting in your ideal job? And that helps them to think in very specific ways as to what they want to be at the height of their career. And once they get some clarity about that, I would ask them to go and arrange informational interviews with at least 3 persons who are doing the job that you aspire to do, to get their journey. Because they are human just like you, and they have insecurities just like you. And when we hear other people's stories, it normalizes our own insecurities, and the fact that they are successful, it paints a very vivid picture to us that what they have done, we can do too.
Make sure you do some background research as to the salary range for these degrees that you plan to do, and make sure that you understand the trajectory of your professional life after you have completed that degree.
Certainly, money should never be the sole motivator for pursuing a certain course of study, but it should be one of the motivations when choosing a degree program.
Job choice and salary go hand in hand. So the same is true. Is this college major that I'm contemplating going to provide me with the standard of living that is a reasonable standard of living, that either is equal to the standard of living I had growing up or better, which is what you want?
Consider laboring with the paying of knowledge and or experience.
An internship can be supportive of the career selection, especially if a person has a general idea of a career or two that they would like to pursue. In doing an internship, they will have gotten as close as possible to actually committing to a career path without committing to it. And through the internship, they'll be able to see if some of the assumptions that they have about what it is like doing this all day, if those assumptions are true, and they have more data they can use to make a decision to say, yes, this would be good for me or not.
You will want to contemplate the current state of the job market and what statistics point to in regards to future jobs. No doubt some jobs have become obsolete, while others are becoming oversaturated. These should be considered when thinking about your degree program and ultimately your career path.
In looking for a degree, you look for whether the labor market has a demand. Is that going to prepare you for a profession that is growing, or is that profession stabilizing or dying?
We don't have many museums here, and we don't have many galas. As a result, doing a degree in history, for example, might not be the right thing for you to do if you don't plan to work in a museum or you don't plan to work in a library.
Interpersonal skills go hand in hand with your job choice. You might be smitten with the idea of a career that demands people skills, but you're shy and not at all outgoing. You may want to consider if this path is for you at all. But if you decide it is, then be honest with yourself about the skills you need to work on to fulfill this role.
So I would encourage somebody who is shy and self-conscious to, in a kind and compassionate way, give themselves more and more challenges in that area until they master it. The more you put yourself in the context that causes you discomfort, is the more you master that context.
Finally, you want to find out if the institution and the course of study that you will be pursuing is accredited. Accreditation is a review of the quality of higher education institutions and programs. The University Council of Jamaica would be able to help in this regard.
Think about these things, focus, get to know yourself, get to understand your skills, get to know your deficiencies, get to know your positives. And it is through these things that you will begin now to master yourself so that you can master whatever discipline that you choose to do.
The Ministry of Education and Youth is responsible for the placement of students who sit the Primary Exit Profile PEP exam, which assesses students' knowledge as well as critical thinking and communication. Students are placed based on the results of the Primary Exit Profile PEP tests given in grades 4, 5, and 6. The parents' or guardians' top choices from a list of potential schools. While the Ministry of Education and Youth does not generally assist with student transfers from one school to another, requests will be supported in circumstances of proximity. This is when a child may have been assigned to a school where he or she would have to travel considerably long distances from home to school. However, in cases where you are seeking transfers for children who have already been placed in schools by the Primary Exit Profile PEP placement process, it is your responsibility as a parent to contact a school that is willing to accept your child or children. Here are the steps to allow for a smooth transfer process. Submit a letter of request for transfer to the school desired. The school should then provide you, the parent or guardian, with an acceptance letter. Take that acceptance letter to the school where the child was originally placed. The school administrator must then provide a release letter. You are then required to write a letter addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Youth, requesting approval for transfer. This letter must be accompanied by the acceptance and release letters and should be taken to the respective regional office. The Ministry of Education and Youth, through the regional offices, will send approval letters to the accepting and releasing schools within 1 week from the date received. Make sure you have the necessary paperwork from the primary school to speed up the procedure. And that will be the child's last 2 reports, grades 5 and 6. A recommendation from the principal, the official scoring sheet from the Ministry of Education and Youth with the child's grades for PEP. Other documents such as the child's birth certificate and immunization record should also be made available. And keep in mind that it is your duty to get in touch with a school that will accept your child. Follow the transfer procedure to help your child enroll in the institution you believe will give him or her the best chance for a successful academic career.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another post-cabinet press briefing. Today is Tuesday, September 10. I was going to say Wednesday because we're used to being here on a Wednesday morning, but this week we are here on a Tuesday morning, and I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank the members of the media who came this morning. I know there was a lot of traffic on the road today, and so we're off to a late start because we had to accommodate all of our guests this morning. In this special post-cabinet press briefing, we do have some important individuals with us. Here we have our Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, with us. We also have our Minister of Labor and Social Security, the Honorable Pernell Charles Jr., also here with us. It's good that you could come, Minister, and take some time from giving out Beryl checks to everyone. We also have our Chief of Defense Staff here with us, and I just love saying Vice Admiral. Vice Admiral, it's good to have you here this morning, and you know it's a special morning when our Chief of Defense Staff is here with us. We also will have a special guest that I know by now you know who the special guest will be, but we'll have a special guest joining us during the course of this morning. We have to get through the proceedings as expeditiously as we could. I usually give you some key developments from Cabinet. I will hold that to see if we have time at the end, and so we're going to go straight into our discussions this morning, and we're going to be starting with Minister Pernell Charles Jr., who will be giving you an update on the tremendous work that his ministry is doing in relation to supporting those who have been affected by Hurricane Beryl. Minister Charles, over to you.
Thank you, Minister Morris Dixon, and I appreciate the introduction and the adjectives being used. Let me also say good morning to all. Acknowledgements to my colleague Minister, Mr. Johnson-Smith, CDS, CD, CTD, so many acronyms, CTD, Dear Williams, directors, members of the OPM team, JDF team, other agencies, and members of the media, Jamaica. We're going to give you a brief update on our efforts as it relates to the Rebuild Jamaica initiative, which is the initiative that has been moving across the country to provide relief and support for the several individuals who have been impacted by Hurricane Beryl. The government of Jamaica allocated more than $1 billion to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security for the distribution of grant support to beneficiaries whose homes were damaged or destroyed by the hurricane. And we have been assessing across the country. When I stood here first, the number at that time was 8,700. The number of assessments done now is beyond 13,500 across the country. So you can understand the amount of work that has been put in since the last 3 to 4 weeks. Persons with minor damage will receive $50,000. Persons with major damage, $150,000. And those whose house were totally destroyed will receive $400,000 in 2 tranches, 200 and then 200 after an assessment is done. Of the full amount of persons who have been assessed, households assessed, there are a number that we have not been able to validate. And that process includes us going through the contact information, your name, your number, your address, as well as validating your TRN. What this has exposed is that a little under 5,000 of the 13,500, we have not been able to validate the TRN for one reason or the other. Either the name is spelled incorrectly, or your name might be Sasha, and you tell us it is Sasha, you spell it S-A-S-H-A, but your TRN has it as S-A-S-C-H-A, or the TRN number that you gave us was incorrect, because in our interaction and engagement with citizens, many did not have their TRN card because the house was totally destroyed, or for whatever reason they couldn't identify it or find it at the time. So we have been going through a process now of re-verification, reaching out to persons by phone, calling members of the community on their street, talking to the MPs, to the councillors, going back into the community, And so far, we have been able to at least validate of the 13,500 a little more than 7,000. Good news is that of that amount that we have validated, 100% of the validated beneficiaries, those checks have been printed. 100% of those checks have been distributed either to the parish offices or to the areas where they're to be collected. And of that amount, more than 50% have either been delivered or collected by a beneficiary already. So we are in high gear, moving at high pace, achieving in this 6 to 8 week period what would normally, under ordinary circumstances, take us more than 6 to 8 months. We are doing this with the support and collaboration of our partners across government, and we are also doing this with the collaboration of our members of parliament and organizations, local and international. So, back to the data. So of the 13,500, we have about an estimate of 7,000, little more than 7,000, that have already been printed and distributed. Of the amount that we are now re-verifying, as of this morning, a little more, I think it's 503 of those, we have been able to identify those persons. And so that batch will be printed today for immediate distribution and delivery. And I must say, this process has exposed the need for needs. Like it or not, if the country is going to develop, we have to be able to identify, we have to be able to collate and move swiftly. This is the main reason why we cannot today announce that 100% of all persons have received their check. So you may hear persons in the news or otherwise saying, well, I was assessed, and I'll know I don't see somebody come and give me a check, and I'll know I don't hear my name called. Primarily, it is because of the inability to validate you. All persons who have been validated, their checks have been printed. So let me make that very clear. And I want the media to be clear with that, because those questions have been asked. Of course, St. Elizabeth is the parish with the largest number of assessments still ongoing, and the largest number of checks printed come from St. Elizabeth, more than 1,245 at a value of more than $116.4 million, and that's ongoing. And that's followed by Clarendon with more than 1,055 checks printed at a value of an estimate of 98.3 million, call it $100 million. And St. Mary follows in third place, followed by Manchester and then Portland, and on and on. So we hope, and we are working towards being able to put in place processes to speed up the re-verification. So there are persons who have indicated to us that they do not have a TRN or they cannot find their TRN. And one of the things that we have instituted is the use of a proxy, so that you will be able to identify someone responsible who can serve on your behalf with the necessary verification to receive the check on your behalf. Additionally, we can give the indication that in addition to the checks being provided by the government of Jamaica, 50, 150, and 400, through our collaboration with the UN World Food Program, there will be an additional cash grant provided for several of the beneficiaries who are in the more vulnerable categories. And 1.4 million US has been provided by the UN World Food Program to deliver cash grants to some of the worst affected families with children, persons with disabilities, and elderly members. Payments of that tranche will commence in September. A total of 42.75 million Jamaican through UNICEF will also see 36.5 million provided to families on path with children's children, ages 0 to 6 years, and pregnant or lactating mothers. In a negative partnership, and in that partnership, we are seeking to assist and support up to 1,500 households, starting with the replacement of 250 roofs in the worst hit communities. We're finalizing the partnership with GEM, and that should see GEM providing material at no cost to the beneficiary, and the beneficiary or the government paying for labor, which will boost and amplify the support that any one individual or household receives. So I just want to take the time to applaud our stakeholders, to really highlight and acknowledge the level of partnership and the strategic partnership that we have been able to forge and to advance to the benefit of our Jamaicans, particularly those that have been impacted by Hurricane Beryl. Our team continues to hit the ground. It's the assessment, the processing, the re-verification, the distribution, the answering of the phone, the responding to the emails, the response at office, the response to minister who is calling at 10 p.m., the printing of checks on the weekend, the pulling into office at 7 a.m., and on and on. And so I have to take the time to acknowledge the team, from the PS to our acting PS now, Ms. Dion Jennings, to our CTDs, to our directors, going straight down to our ancillary staff, every single member of the Labour and Social Security team, and our friends and partners across government, from STC, Food for the Poor, GEM, Red Cross, ADRA, across the board, that have done an amazing job so far. Again, in conclusion, I want to openly invite and encourage those persons who might say that they still have questions or concerns around the assessment. And I can tell you that as of last week, the number of persons contacting us to say that they haven't been assessed has reduced astronomically. I don't think I received even one call in the last 3 days from anybody seriously who was impacted. One lady this morning called to say she's from Trelawney, and she got my number from my brother, who told her that she must call me. And she called to tell me that she lost 2 sheets. Lost family. Contact us and let us know. And you can contact us through our parish offices. You can contact us on our customer contact center number, 922-9000 to 13. You can contact us through social media, through the ministry or through my own page. Or if that doesn't work, contact us through your member of parliament or councillor. Each and every one of them, regardless of where they sit, will be able to contact me directly. That's our update. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Don't go yet. We just need to check if there are any questions from the media in relation to the Beryl relief efforts.
Seems there's no question.
Okay, all right, thank you. You got off. And I think it is because of the good work that he is doing in relation to Hurricane Beryl. So we're going to be moving on from the relief efforts, and we do have some updates that we need to give, and we do have a special guest who is supposed to be going through those, who is not here as yet. And so in the interim, what I will do is I'll ask if there are any other questions in relation to any cabinet matters that the media has. I can take those now, and then I will go through my initial opening with giving you some updates in terms of what was discussed in cabinet. But I will just check if there are any questions in relation to other cabinet matters at this time. Okay.
Morning, Minister. Zara Burton, 18 Degrees North, and working for Reuters today. Are we going to be getting an update on Haiti today?
When you see who is in the room, you are definitely getting an update on Haiti today.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'll just wait for that.
So
portion.
you can wait for that portion of our discussion. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, which is very interesting because, oh, sorry. That's okay, go ahead.
Could you provide an update on the supplementary estimates of expenditure that is expected to be tabled, I suppose sometime soon? Will that still take place, and could you indicate to us whether it will take place so soon as, pardon me? Okay,
They're
sorry.
asking you to stand.
Could you indicate for us if it will take place as soon as the Parliament resumes?
Sure, and you should introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, Edmund Campbell from the Gleaner Company.
Wonderful, thank you. And thank you for that question on the supplemental estimates. We actually did discuss that in Cabinet yesterday, and I keep noting Minister Clark is still the Minister of Finance. He is not going anywhere. We're not allowing him to leave until he has finished things. Yesterday, I spent a long time talking to him about things I needed to get approval through the Minister of Finance. He's very much working, and the supplemental estimates are expected to come to Cabinet within a matter of weeks, and then it will go through its regular process through the Parliament.
Thank you, Minister. There are, or special guests are walking over shortly.
All right, I'll
May
just take another one
yes, and may I just
until
remind
they're
the
here.
media just to identify yourself. We do this every week, so identify yourself, and if you could stand so that the camera can find you. Zara.
Morning again. So since we're waiting on Haiti, just a quick question. Has there been any discussion within the Cabinet about possibly tabling the Integrity Commission reports ahead of the Parliament officially coming back? I believe it's on the 17th.
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. And I figured you were going to ask that question too. And so essentially in Cabinet, we didn't discuss that. That was not discussed at Cabinet at all. In terms of the tabling of reports, that's a matter for the Speaker of the House, as you would recognize. And so that will be done at the appropriate time, and we don't plan to comment on it until it is tabled in Parliament. And I ask you to stand for our Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness.
Good morning, everyone. Please. I didn't get to hear what Minister Dana Morris Dixon said. Did she say that I can't comment?
Yes, that's what I said.
Well, I do take note of the tabling of reports. I believe one of them has to do with my statutory declarations. I'm pleased that they are now before the Parliament, and I am equally anxious to have them tabled so that I can address them publicly. But that is not the purpose of my visits with you today. My visits are becoming more frequent. I think so as well. I have two matters to discuss with you. The first has to do with the announcement of a committee to review our disaster risk management processes. I'm given two scripts here, so I have to make sure I have the right one. As Jamaica continues to navigate the increasing challenges posed by both natural and man-made disasters, we must commit ourselves to a pathway of resilience. In recent years, the intensity and frequency of such events have grown. For Jamaica, this means that we must stand ready to respond swiftly and effectively to safeguard lives and livelihoods and our critical infrastructure. The most recent reminder of our vulnerability came with Hurricane Beryl in July 2024. Beryl caused significant damage across parishes, affecting thousands of households and leaving many Jamaicans without shelter, water, electricity, and nowadays, a human right, internet connectivity. Totaling, I'm sure, over $10 billion in damage. The Beryl experience highlighted the urgent need to enhance our resilience. The resulting impact is sobering, and it shows what is at stake for Jamaica if we are hit by whether it is a hurricane or any other form of natural disaster. Though we recovered quickly from the last natural disaster, we don't know what tomorrow will bring and whether or not the impact will be worse. We cannot wait for the next disaster to catch up on our preparedness. In response to these challenges of what I describe as high frequency, high intensity, and sometimes overlapping disasters, and I want to emphasize this to the listening public, Jamaica is impacted by high intensity. The impact is great. Frequency, they are happening now more often. But the part that we must pay close attention to is that these disasters, these unexpected shocks, are also overlapping. So you could have a pandemic, then you are hit by an economic crisis, whether it is supply chain impact or inflation impact, and then you could be hit by a natural disaster such as a hurricane, and you could be dealing with all three all at once. Or you could be transitioning out of one and then you are hit by another. And that is the nature of the world today. And governments have to be constantly prepared for this. So in response to these challenges of high frequency, high intensity, and overlapping crises, the government established the Disaster Risk Management Review Committee. This committee is tasked with strengthening Jamaica's preparedness for disasters and ensuring that we are ready to meet future crises head-on. The DRMRC, that is the Disaster Risk Management Review Committee, will focus on critical areas such as infrastructure resilience, essential services like water, electricity, and telecommunications, as well as medical services and community preparedness. These sectors are crucial in maintaining stability in times of crisis, and any failure in these areas can have widespread consequences. The DRMRC is led by Major General Anthony Anderson, a public servant with decades of experience in disaster management and national security. The committee also includes Dr. Paris Leahy, Jr., a leader in geospatial technology. It includes Mr. Jonathan Grant, a retired senior public official in the Ministry of Finance, I believe, and Ms. Trudy Deans, a consultant who has been instrumental in initiatives such as the Jamaica Education Transformation Commission. Together, this team brings a wealth of expertise and experience and will guide our efforts to build a more resilient Jamaica. The DRMRC's mandate is to, one, assess vulnerabilities in critical infrastructure and services to ensure they remain operational, even during disaster events. Critical infrastructure includes water supply systems, electricity grids, telecommunications networks, and transportation routes. These are the backbone of daily life and must remain operational. The focus will be on ensuring that these essential services are designed, maintained, and upgraded to withstand the impact of hurricanes, floods, and other disaster events. Secondly, the committee will evaluate emergency services to ensure they are equipped to respond quickly and efficiently to crises. The committee will thoroughly evaluate the readiness and capability of all of Jamaica's emergency services to ensure that they are in top shape. And three, to provide recommendations for improving national and local disaster response frameworks, ensuring better coordination between agencies. The work of the DRMRC is not just about addressing the immediate risks posed by disasters, but about building a culture of resilience in Jamaica that prepares us for the future. The ultimate goal is to ensure that our infrastructure services and communities are equipped to handle any challenge, ensuring the continued safety and well-being of Jamaicans, and indeed the continuity of government in the face of any serious natural disaster challenge. The impact of Hurricane Beryl is a call to action. Hurricanes such as Beryl gives us a stark reminder of the importance of preparedness. Every year, under the Disaster Risk Management Act, this room is filled with all the agency heads who are a part of the Disaster Risk Management Committee. We meet at hotels elsewhere and we gather and we discuss our preparedness. But you are never truly prepared until you are tested. And Beryl was a test. From where I sit and having the kind of general view of the system, I'm inclined to say that we performed creditably, but there is room for improvement. If you were to compare us against what happened in the past, we would be way ahead in terms of the ability of the government to respond, our financial preparedness, the speed at which we are now distributing humanitarian assistance, reconstruction assistance. But that is if you're comparing with what happened in the past. We must now be comparing ourselves to what is likely to happen in the future and the gaps that we are seeing now. And so the Cabinet has decided to empanel this committee to actually do that work, practical, technical work, to advise the government as to how do we close the gaps. For example, when Beryl struck, several communities were without water, which shows us that your water system, for it to be resilient, can't be reliant on only the sole provider of electricity in the country. It has to have some resilience of itself, some backup system of itself. So that has to be looked at, that has to be studied, and the government advised. The readiness of the utility provider, JPS, that has to be looked at. What went wrong? What did they do right? Where is the need for improvement in the system? That has to be looked at. We also have to look at our ability to conduct rapid assessment of damage. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, they have their standing mission to conduct assessment, but when a disaster of the scale of Beryl or greater happens, they would not have the human resources to immediately conduct the assessment. So we need to plan for that. Where are the standby capabilities? How do we integrate technology such as, AI surveillance capabilities, that you can use AI to study aerial footage to see where the damage has actually occurred? You could very easily rapidly conduct assessments. And then there's the whole issue of how do we identify beneficiaries, which is one of the main challenges now. You go, you assess someone, you collect their information, you prepare a check for them, but then you go back and try to find them. You can't find them. So there are many issues, many gaps. And how do we manage international philanthropy? So we have a central focal point, but you'll always have the case where someone will say, well, I don't want to give to government, I want to give to someone else, and you will have other people coming up to set up philanthropic organizations. All of that needs to be coordinated so that the impact of international assistance is properly channeled and targeted. So I repeat, my own assessment is that I think we have performed creditably, but there are gaps. We can't compare ourselves to what happened in the past. We have to be looking forward now to ensure that for the threats to come, which I have said, they are intense when they happen, they are more frequent, and they tend to overlap. So we have to have that capability. So this is the Cabinet's response, first response in developing this committee. I could stop to take questions on this before I go on to the next matter. 2 questions, if you agree. All right, if there are no questions, then I'll go on to the other matter. In January last year, I indicated that Jamaica would be willing to participate in a multinational security mission to assist the Haitian state to achieve a reasonable level of security and facilitate the holding of elections. We were the first to commit personnel on the basis that any multinational security mission must have 1, the support of the Haitian people, 2, the appropriate jurisdictional sanction, and 3, it must be adequately resourced. In February last year, I led a CARICOM delegation on a fact-finding mission to Haiti, where I met with members of the government and stakeholders from the church, business, and civil society. The mission was an important part of CARICOM's approach to supporting Haiti. Ultimately, from that mission, Jamaica agreed to host and train members of the Haitian National Police Force with the support of Canada. 2, CARICOM heads of government appointed an eminent persons group, the EPG, to represent the community's good offices facilitation of the government of Haiti and Haitian stakeholders. The 3-member EPG consisted of former Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Right Honorable Perry Christie, former Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Bruce Golding, and former Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Dr. the Honorable Kenny Anthony. In June 2023, Jamaica hosted the EPG's first engagement with Haitian stakeholders for consultations on the formation of a new government. In July 2023, I addressed the UN Security Council on behalf of CARICOM on the urgent need to have a resolution passed to give effect to the multinational security mission in Haiti. The resolution was passed in October 2023, which gave the appropriate jurisdictional basis for the multinational security support mission to operate. A trust fund was also established to give certainty around the funding of the operations of the multinational security mission. In March 2024, with the support of the United States and Canada, Jamaica brought other CARICOM personnel together, along with our own forces, to begin training for deployment to Haiti. So as Minister of Defense, today we announce that Jamaica will begin its participation in the multinational security support mission with the deployment of 24 personnel to Haiti to provide command, planning, and logistics support. The deployment is comprised of 20 JDF personnel and 4 JCF personnel. The security forces continue in a state of readiness to support further deployment towards our overall commitment as the mission in Haiti is scaled up. Jamaica has close fraternal ties to the people of Haiti, and we stand in solidarity with them. Jamaica also has a national security interest in the situation in Haiti, one of our closest neighbors. It is in our interest to support a long-lasting resolution to the problems in Haiti. Here in Jamaica, we see the growing entrenchment of gangs who organize the production of armed violence with a view to economic gain, spreading terror in communities and weakening the state's guarantee to citizens' security. We see this as an evolving existential threat to law and order and the proper functioning of institutions of the state, not only in Jamaica, but in several countries across the region. It is a regional problem. The threat of gangs must not be viewed as only a citizen-to-citizen problem, where regular policing and the criminal justice system would be sufficient to address the problem. The threat is at a level in the region where gangs and organized armed violence they produce is a threat to the very state. Haiti is the example of what could happen if states and governments do not take the problem seriously and put in place the measures and resources necessary to bring the problem under control. I wish to thank the members of the security forces who will be deploying to Haiti, and I wish them well, and obviously we pray for their safety and security. I know their conduct will be exemplary, and they will take every precaution for their personal safety. I also want to acknowledge the support of our international partners, the US and Canada in particular, and the work of CARICOM in supporting the process in Haiti.
Thank you, PM. It was anticipated. I see the hand already up in terms of questions. I see 5 hands up already. Naomi, over to you. And PM has to leave. And so I do have a hard stop. So you're going to have to decide who's going to ask the questions. I can maybe take 2 or 3.
3.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Again, Reuters asking a couple of questions. The full pledge is 170 JDF, they say, and 30 JCF, wondering why only 24 personnel will be deployed. Can you also give when we will have that deployment exactly of the 24? Is it specific, like today, or is it another day? And then also, under whose management are the Jamaican troops going to be functioning? And what will be the main role of the Jamaican troops in Haiti?
Thank you for that question. I will invite CDS to give those details, including when the deployment will take place. But just to be clear, as I said in my presentation, this is a build-up to our commitment. None of the countries that have made commitments have deployed all at once. It's not practical. It's not possible. Preparations have to be made in the host country, and so as those preparations are made, then and the possibility of scaling up happens, then we will, on our side, fulfill all our commitments. So this is a start to what we intend to do, and as the situation in Haiti is prepared for our presence, we will deploy.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Good morning to everyone. In respect of when we will deploy, we expect to deploy on Thursday the 12th. That is in 2 days' time. Why 24 and what are we going to do? We have been preparing for this deployment for over a year. Once we got the indication that Jamaica was prepared to participate. And so it takes a lot of planning. We're at the stage now, we've done our due diligence, and we're at the stage now that we can deploy the persons that we have committed to support the command element of the MSS as the mission rolls out, as the Prime Minister has indicated. So the Jamaican contingent will be under the command of local Colonel Kevron Henry. He is the designated deputy commander of the overall mission. We're also ensuring that within the planning and operations of the headquarters that the Jamaican contingent will occupy key appointments to ensure that we bring our expertise and bring our interest in the mission to the forefront in the headquarters. What was your other question? Did I miss any?
So given the time, we'll just do one CDS or one of the others that was a follow-up. So CDS, just the first.
What will they be doing? They will be, so their main role of this particular advanced small team is to support the command structure of the headquarters and the planning for follow-on deployment and operations. In respect of your other question, I am not in a position to answer that.
Thank you, CDS. Let's go to Ms.
Just to be
Williams.
very, so that everybody understands, the deployment of security personnel in this multinational mission requires extensive planning. And we can't just merely send troops without having, for example, as was pointed out, the command structure in place, the facilities to host. So what you're seeing now is the build-out towards that. So we want a very successful operation, and the operation should have no shortcomings because there was any failure to plan.
Thank you, sir. Kalisha?
That's it.
Kalisha Williams, Television Jamaica. Mr. Holness, the PNP has been demanding that Parliament be convened to table the IC report. What is your response to that? And also, how concerned are you about the documents being leaked days after it was sent to key stakeholders in the Parliament? Thank you.
My response is that as soon as it is possible, as soon as Parliament is convened, the date set for the convening of Parliament was the 17th. So as soon as that date is there, I'm certain the report will be tabled, and I'm eagerly looking forward to it being tabled. I'm concerned about leaks, very much so. Concerned to the point where members of the opposition could say with definitive certainty when the report was going to be tabled and what was the content of the report. I am very concerned. And that was even before the report reached Parliament.
Our final question, sir. Edmund?
Next question.
Edmund Campbell, Lena Company. Prime Minister, are you, as a leader of CARICOM, are you disappointed with the pace with which the multinational forces that have been deployed since, I think, June, are making in terms of, well, making inroads in terms of displacing the gangs in Haiti, particularly in Port-au-Prince? I believe they're about 80%, if I'm not mistaken, of the area is still controlled by the gangs. Are you disappointed that the multinational forces have not been able to make a greater impact? And do you believe that the intervention with our deployment could possibly make any difference?
I laid out in my presentation the steps that we have gone through to get to this point. I didn't outline all the steps, but the critical ones to get to this point. It can be a long and extended process. As to whether or not I am disappointed, my response to that is I understand all the moving parts that have to be properly aligned for the mission to be successful. The multinational security support mission is not the only line of effort for the resolution of the problems in Haiti. That is just one line of effort. There are important and significant diplomatic effort being made and stakeholder effort being made. And I think at this point we should commend the people of Haiti, their civil society and their church and all the other political figures involved who have managed to come to some kind of understanding as to the way forward. So there are many processes that are ongoing. I think it would not be wise to prepare the region to believe that the multinational security mission would be the only or final solution to the problem. They are there to support, and we build up in a very structured way to ensure that all elements of the plan for Haiti work together in the most peaceful way, with the least loss of life, and with the greatest impact for a long-term, enduring solution. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, everyone. You may be seated. We do have the ministers with us. I can maybe take 2 more questions. We have 3 minutes left. If anyone has any questions for the ministers, there's a lot going on, as you would have heard throughout the discussions this morning. The government is working really hard, working hard in the Beryl response, because that's our priority, ensuring everybody is back up. Last week we did education and spoke to our schools and those being back. And we also this morning spoke to the deployment of our troops to Haiti. There's a lot of other things to discuss from Cabinet. We went until very late last night, but we will take those matters next week, and I'll give an update at the start of our next post-Cabinet press briefing. I saw one hand up. Okay.
Good morning, Sashana Small from the Gleaner. My question is for Minister Charles. I wanted to find out from him, what is the estimated cost for the relief the government is funding now? Beryl relief.
Sure.
The allocation from the government is $1 billion. There's an additional $300 million to that, making it $1.3 billion for the entire relief program.
And just to note, even yesterday, Minister Charles was advocating for more funds, again to Minister Clark, emphasizing that everybody who needs to be helped should be helped, and that's a priority. And I think there is one last question before we break.
Beryl, I think a deployment, well, the government, in fact, had spent $4 million for each constituency, if I'm not mistaken, $4 or $5 million for each member of parliament to carry out work in their respective constituencies. And after that, I think a $5 million per constituency was announced also. Now, with the REACH program taking effect soon, I suspect, with $3 billion to be divided among the constituencies, I'm just trying to appreciate and understand if, first of all, the first sums that were spent or were supposed to be earmarked for the constituencies, if those have already been spent, and if in fact it will be somewhere in the region of $47.6 billion that will be additional sums that will be allocated to the various constituencies for work under the REACH program.
All right, under REACH, you would have heard the announcement last week for REACH, and that is about fixing a lot of the roads across the country. And everybody who drives on the road knows that, you know, we had issues before. We've been having issues for decades with our roads. But we know that with Beryl, that got worse. And so that allocation in relation to REACH is to do patching all across the country. So that's more patching work. And that is the 3.5 that you would have heard about that was announced last week. There were other allocations given to members of parliament before, as you said, and after. And so when we look at the entire Beryl relief, and the spend, we actually have to look at many different areas also, because there is the education budget that would have been put in place. There's also the support to our farmers also that would have been a part of that relief effort. And I know at another post-cabinet, I also spoke to allocations that would have been given to the Ministry of Health in order to do the vector control, and especially with all of the huge mosquitoes that we've been seeing. So there are many different elements to the relief. I don't have the full numbers that I can give you with every single entity, because even just yesterday, we would have seen submissions from other areas saying we need some support in order to do Beryl. But what I can do is for next week's post-cabinet, I can put together how much the government has done. And I think this is also something to celebrate as a country, because we've had a major hurricane pass through, yes, on the south, but many communities were affected. And for us to be able to do all of these relief efforts out of our funds, not through a loan, is absolutely fantastic. And it is something we've not been able to say before. And so I think we should all celebrate as Jamaicans that we've been able to do this and to find these allocations, even though the ministers do say we need some more and we wish we had more. But it is still a really great testament to the hard work of a lot of people that we're at this point today. And so we will end with that and end with Minister Charles's note on the number of individuals who are who have been affected by Beryl and who are getting that support, and reminding you, if you need assistance, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is here to assist you. And so I will see you again next week. Next week, Wednesday, will be our post-cabinet press briefing. We're going to take the post-cabinet press briefings on the road. And so next week, we'll be at a call center and doing our post-cabinet press briefing from there, so that Jamaicans can see what it is that we do here every single week. We come here, we say what was discussed in cabinet, we present ministers to the media, they can ask any questions, we don't say no, and we may not be able to comment on something, but we don't dismiss any questions. And so next week we will see you from one of our call center locations. And so have a wonderful week, and God bless all of you.